True story time. I don't know how many of y'all believe in the paranormal, spirits and ghosts. I didn't, but I do. I do now. For sure. For sure now. I've had quite a few. But the first one, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. It's as clear as day, like it happened yesterday. I think it was around the fall. Remember the leaves were changing, a lot of leaves on the ground. I was only like 13, 12 maybe. I had this used Suzuki 185, a little sport utility quad. And I used to ride with my buddy down the street. And we're going down the trails. And I'm up just around the corner, you know. We weren't even far away, maybe, like a 10-minute ride. And we were behind his grandparents, where his uncle and his grandparents lived. And we were in the woods behind their house. It used to be this trail that we would take. And it would take us out to this place that used to, I can't remember the name of it, but they used to rent videos there. And the guy that owned it was into sports cards. So they used to sell packs of sports cards there and, some slabs. And me and my buddy Scott used to always go there. That was like, especially like on a weekend, got money from our parents. Like on a Friday or a Saturday, we'd be there. But we were there every day. We hung out there talking to the guy. And we used to always, rent VHS tapes. Back then, that's what it was, It wasn't DVDs like today. Or not even. Just everything's digital now. But I'm riding down this trail. And I'm coming back from, if we had went, towards that movie place. I'm coming back. And I see this little girl standing in the middle of the trail. And, then it wasn't weird, it felt natural. It was normal. But thinking back, it's like, oh my God, what? I'm coming down the trail, and there's this little girl, little brown hair, white dress, white stockings. She had like little white sandal, like the little girly sandal shoes that little young girls wear. She had to be anywhere like 9 or 10, 11 years old. And I stopped for her, which I would never do that. Not in a million years. Not in a million years. I'm out there riding. I don't care what anyone else is doing. Okay? Your business is your business. My business is my business. I don't stop and talk to nobody. I ain't out there to make friends. But I ride up and I stop. And she looks at me and says, "Is Bonnie Ann home?" And Scott Dyer has a little cousin named Bonnie Ann who was around 12, 13 years old. I was like, I don't know. And she's like, "Oh, can you get her for me? Can you check?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I proceed to drive down the trail to go to Scott's grandparents and aunt's house. And I'm like, what the fuck? What am I doing? What do I look like? You could just walk there, man. It's right there. And I turn around. Nothing. Nobody there. And when I tell you that thought process of me pulling away and deciding, like, what am I doing? That was all in a matter of seconds. So I see that she ain't there. I spin the quad around. I drive back looking for her. I shut the quad off. I'm yelling for her. No answer. I don't hear nobody like running in the woods. And I would have, you know. If anybody ran through the woods, you know how loud you are, especially in the fall time. And and then I cruise around a couple little trails that were nearby. Nothing. Nothing. And I felt it. You know what I mean? Like I knew at that moment that something supernatural just happened. And I mean, at the time, my eyes started watering. I was crying like a little girl, man. I ain't gonna lie. I am not gonna lie, man. I was weeping, man. And I remember I had my goggles on my helmet, and I couldn't wipe my eyes, and I'm flying down the trail, flying home to tell my mom, panicking, panicking. I'm surprised I didn't get into an accident because I kept looking back, thinking that something was gonna chase after me or something. And I'll never forget that little girl, man, asking me where Body Ann was. And then, fast forward years later, you know, I happen to be telling the story, and I find out that Body Ann had a friend who was struck by a car on a bicycle on the side of Route 9. And I'm like, what? I'm like, are you serious? Oh, what she look like? Man, you'd swear I was lying, you know? And I'm sure that's what they thought. They probably like get out of here with that, man. But they described this girl to a T. White dress that she had on with her white stockings and her little white shoes that she was wearing the day that she got struck and died. And I'm like, no. And come to find out, further, if you, instead of making a right like we used to take to go down to that video place, if you go further straight and go left, it takes you to this road. And at the end of that road, there's a old cemetery, like old cemetery. Like they haven't buried people there in, I mean, not in my generation. I mean, like all the dates on there, like most of them are just don't even have dates. They're just markers, and the few tombstones that you can actually, scribe with a paper and some, and some lead and scribe it to try to see what it says. It's back in the like 1800s and early 1900s, and I'm just like, man. And there is a couple of young people that were buried there, and for those that don't believe that, that that this is it. You think that this is all it is, and that when we die, we just die, and that's that. Man, that is not the case. And I feel bad for you. I really do. This it doesn't end here. It doesn't end here. There's so much more. There's gonna be so much more. It's forever, man. We're energy. We're energy. Energy don't just die. It don't just disappear. But I don't know if you enjoyed that one, but I do have like four more. Don't mind my fingers. They're still healing from when I smashed them. I got four more stories that I'll be more details to my first one doing. You know, I'll think it through a little better. Try to drag it out a little longer. But yeah, man. Listen, they're there. They're always there around you. You might not be able to see them, but they're walking with us. Until next time, y'all.